Blizzard have released a fun little comic for Christmas. They did the same back for Halloween, which was simple and enjoyable for those dedicated fans. They did the same thing for Halloween, which was a simple and enjoyable comic for your fans who enjoy it, right? But there was some hidden meaning and things for those dedicated fans to spot. I very recently made a video dedicated to a theory to do with Reaper, and that Halloween comic actually helped me greatly, weirdly. After reading through this new Christmas comic, there's some interesting details to enjoy, and some extremely interesting and lore-related ones too. Let's have a look. The comic begins with Tracer running around King's Row in London, doing some very late Christmas shopping, which sounds like myself actually. At the same time, Winston is reflecting on how these last years have been quite lonely. He's been almost exclusively alone, locked up and trying to get Overwatch back online for quite a while now, but he's finally going to change it all. With his attempts to recall Overwatch, this year might be his last one alone. Anyway, zipping around, Tracer cannot stop herself from helping others instead of focusing on her personal needs, leading her to be commonly late despite her ability to control the flow of time. Ironic. Failing to grab the present that she planned to get, we learn some relevant information about Tracer and how she functions as a hero. Originally, Tracer was someone who was lost in time after a failed experiment that could have led to a huge advancement for technology in Overwatch. It took the genius of Winston to save her by creating the chronal accelerator to give Lena Oxen an anchor in time, able to no longer be lost in time, but focus herself on the present and continue to exist. As a side effect of this, she was able to manipulate time around herself, essentially giving herself superpowers. That's a pretty fucking good side effect. After zipping around London so much, Lena exclaims that she just doesn't have enough juice left to get home, that she's going to have to take normal measures to travel. And the way that she's so casual about it gives off the impression that this happens quite regularly. This tells us that Tracer's ability to control time around herself is actually of limited use. Now, we do already know that in a way. We know that it recharges naturally. We saw that in the original Overwatch cinematic. But this matters more. In the comics, we have more real-life versions of these characters compared to the hyped-up and stylized versions in the cinematics where they're not quite so limited. It's likely that Tracer's time traveling takes longer than just a few small moments to recharge, but also takes way longer to run out too. I found this comparison in the comic to what we saw in the original cinematic interesting, and it's also given me a different perspective on what we've seen in other cinematics too. Anyway, on the way home, she's given a gift by a girl who she helped earlier as a way of thanks. This is where we see something entirely new: Tracer's home life. Apparently, she shares an apartment in King's Row with a woman named Emily, someone I've never heard about or seen before at all. And it actually turns out they're in a relationship together. Gameplay and lore-wise, this isn't much of a big deal, but maybe it's not even surprising to some. I think it's pretty great that we get to see a former agent of Overwatch able to move on and function even after such a harsh past, especially because it's Tracer. We've had discussions about Tracer before, about how she's kind of overly happy and chipper, and it's a little bit weird. We've been asking the question, maybe she's hiding something. But no, it really does seem like Tracer, after losing herself completely, is living life to its full while she can, and isn't wasting a moment. After such a horrible experience, she knows that every second counts. Meanwhile, Winston reflects on the past and his friends, wondering what they're doing right now on Christmas. And we actually get to see it. This is amazing. We see so much in just one picture. This is just before the reformation of Overwatch, and we get to see who these people are to their friends and family in their downtime. Firstly, we have Genji and Zenyatta that are at a monastery together. Obviously, Genji is still Zenyatta's pupil, continuing to learn to accept himself and what he is and who he has become. Reinhardt finds himself surrounded by loved ones, family who clearly love and adore him. I was wondering who the hell this Santa was in the picture as well, and why they're in such a close embrace with this woman who appears to be related to Reinhardt. It might be a long shot, but given his Christmas skin, I was wondering if that could be Torbjorn. I mean, maybe, but I'm really unsure about that. Do note as well, the blacksmith for Reinhardt that travels around with him during their adventures and repairs his armor is actually there too, just behind him. We have Mercy, who's still working off somewhere, helping those who need help. We have Reaper looming in the shadow, watching a family on the street. Could he be thinking of the past? reflecting on who he once was? Or could he just be chasing a target? Soldier and Anna are together after the old Soldier comic, reforming Overwatch before they even knew it was reforming on its own without them. They're holding up somewhere until the right time, it seems, and Soldier's looking over a picture, a memory, but with who? It's really hard to say. Roadhog and Junkrat are continuing their worldwide spree of crime and fun despite Christmas. It just doesn't matter to them, and Hanzo's shopping for a cake. Great job, Hanzo. McCree, hilariously, has passed out in some bar, but here's something interesting. Sombra's there too. Tracking him? Trying to learn something? Or were they just there by chance at the same time? She doesn't actually seem that interested in him at all, so I'm not sure. Finally, the last two are the most interesting of all. Farah is on a date, but I don't think that's like a lover or anything. Given his age and his appearance, I'm thinking that might actually be Farah's dad. We actually might be looking at a brief glimpse of who Anna was with to create Farah. He's not actually dead, and he doesn't seem to be an agent of Overwatch. He's just a man who met a woman. And maybe, we're going to learn more about him soon. Last but not least, we have Widowmaker doing something fucking interesting. She's at a grave for her dead husband, who was a former Overwatch agent, the first man that she killed, Widowmaker's first target. Widowmaker was originally created by Talon, a person who was turned into a living weapon. Her body had been altered to remove all emotion, making her the perfect sleeper agent to kill those Talon wanted dead, specifically Gerard, her former husband. In the cinematic Alive, there's a great focus on how Widowmaker feels nothing and is desperately wanting to. The only time that she manages to feel anything at all is when she kills. It's her one passion in her bleak life. Yet, here she is, at the grave of her dead husband, someone she should feel nothing for. There's an exchange in game between Anna and Widowmaker in which Anna exclaims that Gerard was a fool to love her. Widowmaker replies angrily that Anna knows nothing. Widowmaker has come across more and more lately as someone who is starting to feel emotion. At least that's what I'm getting. She's not supposed to feel any, right? Could this be a terrible thing for Talon? Their weapon that they created could backfire on them. Imagine if she somehow regained control of herself. Who would Widowmaker hate more than anyone else in the world? Well, it would be the people that made her kill her husband and become the monster that she is today. Oh my god, that would be so good to see. After all of this, it turns out that Tracer and her girlfriend Emily do make it to Winston on time, sharing Christmas together. And Winston is no longer alone. He even thinks that next year, the family will be back together. Overwatch will reform. This is a really great comic to read, fun and nice, right? But dude, all those nice little lore implications, I loved it. Let me know what you think, be it about Widowmaker or Tracer, Farah's father, who Soldier's looking at in that picture, or whatever else it was that you want to talk about. I'm looking forward to reading it, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.